Welcome to TisTalk.
TisTalk is a community podcast from Tisbury, Wiltshire and surrounding villages. I'm Mary Myers and it's the week beginning the 1st of June 2026. I'm doing a special today because really we're on holiday, sort of half term, but I've recorded two really interesting pieces all about the Forest Cathedral, which is an exhibition on at Messums at the moment. So I went down to talk to Andrew Amondson about the exhibition. He's the artist. And I also talked to Laura Downer. Laura is a forest bather, or rather she organises forest bathing sessions as a kind of therapy. She does this voluntarily to help people, perhaps survivors of cancer or suffering from cancer at the time. And she obviously goes to real forests and real woodlands, particularly around here in the Nadder Valley. So she explains a bit more about what forest bathing is, and then she responds to the exhibition. So first you'll hear Andrew Amondson, the artist, and then you'll hear Laura Downer. I hope you enjoyed this special bonus programme, and I hope I can share a little bit of the interest that I got from the exhibition, which is of course free. I just think it's really good that we have here in Tisbury this amazing art gallery in our beautiful Tithe barn. Nice to meet you, Andrew.
Nice to meet you,
Thank
Mary.
you for coming on TisTalk, Tisbury's community podcast. So you're the artist who has made this Forest Cathedral, and we're standing here in Messums in this amazing Tithe barn in front of your creation. So can you just describe for the listeners what we're standing inside here?
For me, it's a forest. We're standing in a forest, and we're standing in the memory of a forest. And for me, the idea was to reflect the light and the memory and bring back the life of the forest. So yeah, I've put green on the windows, which, as that filters in with the natural light, the leaf patterns pick that up from below, because it's the aluminium leaf patterns have a brushed metal bottom and then a highly reflective top. So what you have is the green light underneath that is reflected on the underside, and then above you have the light coming down through the rafters or through the beams and hitting the leaves, the reflective leaf top, and then are bounced up into the ceilings. What I wanted to achieve here was this feeling of walking in a forest, that you'd have the dappled light of the forest floor, the animation of the light, at the same time reflecting the light back up and that movement back up, and imagining how it's either, the light coming through the top of the canopy or the clouds parting, depending on the different sizes and patterns.
Fantastic, yeah, that's what you've achieved. And then when we can't hear it right at the moment because we're in a symposium, but there is also a soundscape as well, isn't there?
That's right. The sound installation element of this work was composed out of different frequencies. The theme for at Messums West was wavelengths. So looking at how we respond to different frequencies, different wavelengths of sound, and also wavelengths as light. But the sound part, using lower frequencies that have a more of a bodily effect, so when these bass tones that come out that represent the subterranean, the root level of the forest.
Oh, and that's in the soundtrack.
That's in the soundtrack, and actually
right.
In a way it's an imagined forest in terms of sound. I have recordings from subterranean recordings from the cloud forest of Ecuador that came from Cosmo Sheldrake and Rob McFarlane on their trip there. So that is part of the mix, let's say. And then you come up through the mid ranges and you keep on rising through this piece up until the canopy and the bird song. And the frequencies at which birds are singing have this beautiful effect on us. They help regulate our nervous system. It gives us a feeling of safety. And that was my intention, is to take these different elements, these different frequencies, these wavelengths, and to create a sense where we feel safe, where we feel connected. In a way, a forest is all connected.
Did you do any recordings locally around Tisbury or in Wiltshire?
I did, yeah. I mean, it's from the walk from town out to Messums West here.
Yeah.
There's a beautiful little bridge just before you come to Place Farm, and I'm sure everyone knows it.
Yes.
But that is this little, I don't know what you'd call it, a gulch or this little waterway is so rich and biodiverse in the sounds that you hear. I did a recording there in the evening, and that's central
Lovely.
to the recording.
That's Fonthill Brook. Yeah.
Fonthill Brook?
Yeah, going before it meets the River Nadder, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a beautiful spot, and I'm every morning I'm overwhelmed by birdsong in the most beautiful way.
So you're staying here temporarily, and you're based where?
I'm based in Berlin. I'm from the States, Northwest United States.
Right. And you're living in Berlin, and you're here in the UK for how long?
I'm here through the public opening on the 14th, and then I need to drive back to Berlin and by way of Winchester Cathedral, because I still have to see this space before the installation goes there. Yeah.
Right.
But I'll be creating 2 more glass works for the end of the barn. There's one that's hanging now in the top window.
Oh, yes.
And this is also salvaged dichroic glass, which both reflects and refracts different colored light as it moves in the space.
Yes, it looks like a sort of mobile stained glass window sort of thing.
Yeah, and that's the idea behind that. I have a few of these hanging at home in the sun, and they're endlessly fascinating to me.
Nice.
Because they throw light, but they're taking light through these different layers, through these different geometries, and then you see these patterns. And for me, it's like watching light move through stained glass, and you can see the refracted patterns.
That's great. Congratulations on this amazing creation you've done.
Well, thank you.
So I'm here with Laura from Teffont in Messums in the Forest Cathedral exhibition. Now, Laura, would you just like to introduce yourself and tell listeners what you do?
Yes, hello. I lead pilgrimages, both for the British Pilgrimage Trust and to raise money for cancer charities. And I also do something called forest bathing, which I'll explain a little bit about later.
So, just on this exhibition then, what would be your first response to it?
Well, I think we're incredibly lucky having Messums on our doorstep, because Johnny puts on so many different, very interesting exhibitions, talks and work. So I'm so grateful to have it on our doorstep.
And what about this particular exhibition, Forest Cathedral?
Well, I love nature, so inevitably I really wanted to come to this exhibition, and I came to the conference last weekend that was associated with it, which was really interesting. And actually it's very nice to come back to the exhibition in a quieter space. There are people here looking at it, including a very young child.
Yes.
But you get a very different impression, with a slight mistiness of the atmosphere, with the lighting, with the soundtrack, and the movement of the sculptural leaves from the ceiling set against the cathedral-like structure of Messum's fabulous timber roof, which has been here for centuries. It's clearly a very different experience to being in nature, but this is art, and art has its place for reminding people about the value and importance of nature and giving people just creative space to connect more into their feelings and to see what comes out of that. I think actually it would be really interesting because it could introduce people to the spiritual dimension of nature. So to give an example, I'm going to read 3 verses from the 13th century Abbess Hildegard of Bingham, which is from O Ignace Paracletus, which is to the Holy Spirit. O Spirit of fire, bringer of comfort, life of the life of every creature. You are holy, giving life to forms. From you clouds flow, wind flies, stones produce moisture, water flows in streams, and the earth exudes living greenness. Whence praise be to you, who are the sound of praise, the joy of life, its hope and greatest honour, granting the prize of light. So I think more than ever nowadays, with the environmental crisis and crashing biodiversity levels, people need to be reminded of the reverence of nature. And we're part of nature, and our future depends on nature. So having this exhibition in a cathedral setting might be a very interesting way to introduce that.
So Laura, tell us about how you feel this links, if at all, to forest bathing itself, in a real forest.
Okay, well, perhaps first I ought to explain what forest bathing is. Forest bathing is translated from the Japanese Shinrin Yoku, which literally translated means forest bathing. But it's about bathing in the atmosphere of the forest. It doesn't involve taking any of your clothes off. What it involves is a slow, immersive walk through the woodland, using your senses to connect more deeply to nature and the wood around you.
And do you have the same feeling here in Messums now as you do in a real woodland?
No, I think this is a very different experience. I mean, there's a lot of science around the benefits of nature and forest bathing, and that ranges from psychological to physical benefits. So it can help to reduce stress, depression, help people to sleep better, and help to regulate things like blood pressure and the nervous system and the heart, and to boost the immune system. So I'm really interested in these well-being benefits that it has. It's part of giving back. So yeah. I don't take any money for my activities. I do it to give something back.
Okay.
I think the actual experience of being in a woodland where you take time to walk slowly and you don't talk, you don't listen to your phone, is very different.
Right.
The sounds of nature are very healing, and actually this is a lovely soundtrack to listen to here. But you can do that in the woodland, but it's the whole experience of being in green, the light and the sunlight shining through the green leaves, looking at fractals. But the fractals in nature, and for anyone who doesn't know what a fractal is, it's a repeating pattern on an ever smaller scale that you find in things like branching trees and in leaves. And the experience of standing and looking at that in nature is different to here. The experience of seeing the light flooding through the leaves and the canopy and lying under a real canopy is very different to here.
But does that mean that this exhibition is less good, or is it just a different thing?
It depends on what you mean by good. I mean,
yeah.
This is art, and it's a lovely exhibition. But the forest is different.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say less good at all, different. But if you were to measure it in well-being terms, there's a lot of evidence on the benefits of listening to the sounds of nature anywhere, maybe on soundtracks as well as actually in nature. And hospitals are now putting photographs of beautiful landscapes and flowers and bluebells in wards because it's been scientifically proven to be beneficial for people's recovery and well-being, which is great. But the real thing how can you compete with the real thing? So I think if this exhibition could encourage people to go back to a woodland with fresh eyes, to just take a slow walk and to try and tune into your senses and see the wonder of nature around you differently as you might as a child for the first time, then that would be great. Otherwise, if you're interested in trying forest bathing, then you could contact me. I'm particularly interested in trying to help people who are going through cancer, having been on that journey myself 10 years ago.
So if anyone would like to take Laura up on that, get in touch with TisTalk at tistalkradio@gmail.com, and we'll put you in touch with Laura. Thank you very much, Laura. That was fantastic. So if you haven't already seen it, I do recommend the Forest Cathedral. It's on at Messums West, Tisbury's Tithe Barn, until the 25th of July. It's free and it's open Thursday to Saturday, 10 till 5 p.m.